Hey everybody, my name is Rick Silva. I'm president and founder of a company called B2B Gathering. I run networking groups. That's what I've done for the last 17 years. I'm also a land investor and a wealth consultant. That's all I'm going to tell you about my life story. But I want to tell you where this came from. So after running networking groups for 17 years, in March, life changes. And my wife wanted to have me committed into an insane asylum. I was losing it. I was freaking out. So I run face-to-face networking groups where people meet in a meeting, and on a Friday, I get calls from all the chambers of commerce, and I can't meet in their conference rooms anymore. I got to move an entire company virtual, and I had done some webinars, maybe one or two GoTo meetings, but nothing on this level where I had to move my entire company virtual. Hopefully this is resonating with some of you. I was freaking. I spent the whole weekend learning GoTo. And the reason why I use GoTo instead of Zoom is I already had a GoTo webinar account. I just added GoTo Meeting to it. Then I start looking at lights and cameras and all these different things. And I start talking to Brad, and Brad showed me some things that made me go, we got to teach other people how to do this, because I cannot be the only one who doesn't know how to do this stuff. So I will tell you that in the last 3 months where I was panicking, thinking I was going to lose my business, my networking groups, I think, are doing better than ever, and our land investing business is breaking records all online. So until further notice, I think most of us are going to be earning a living doing what you're looking at. Having backgrounds, having a good camera, having lighting, having a good microphone, I think is going to be essential for pretty much everyone. So we're going to do our best. We're not. We're technology people, professional networkers, just trying to show you what we use. So enough about me and enough about the setup. That is Brad Tucker. Brad doesn't know this because I didn't tell him this. But for the next however long, that is not Brad Tucker. I want you guys all to write down. That is Brad, the Pitbull technologist. So Brad will take, if Brad has an issue, he's working on a side project with my wife who does online dance parties. And if Brad finds a piece of technology he can't figure out, then the dude's not going to sleep until he figures it out. He's a pit bull. So I'm calling Brad's a technology pit bull. So Brad's company, Q Census Technology Resources, is an IT services company, agency. He has more than 25 years experience in telecom, IT, and cloud services. Brad's passion is making sure you have the best services for you at the best price without the hassle and guesswork of having to become an IT expert. He is your trusted technology services resource, and does it at no cost to his clients. Without further ado, so how this is going to go is Brad's going to present, and then it's going to come back to me, and then we're going to do Q&A. Without further ado, Sir Brad, if you want to take it over, click on your name opposite click presenter, and the floor is yours, sir.
Well, thank you very, very much, Rick, for that wonderful introduction. I'm flattered that you would call me a pit bull. I do. It's true. When I'm confronted with something, I think Marcella can attest to it. I've come to learn that if I don't know how to do something, it's not that it can't be done. It's just I don't know how to do it yet. So that's one of the things that we do. So welcome everybody to this. I'm going to try not to inflict a lot of salesy stuff on you. I just kind of get right into it, and hopefully it'll be interactive, and you guys will have some great questions for me, and hopefully this will all make sense to you. So the first question, of course, is why are we here? Like Rick talked about, maybe you're one of those people who's attending virtual meetings for the very first time in your life. And I see that a lot, like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? I got a question earlier today from somebody, is Zoom easy to learn, or do I need to take a class? Maybe you're trying to figure out, like Rick was talking about, how to adapt in this new technological world into which we've all been cast. And I'm going to talk about that in just in a little more depth in a minute. Perhaps you've been playing with the virtual background settings in Zoom, and you're like, oh, wait, why does it work for me or not work for me when it works for my friend? I don't understand this. What's this all about? Or maybe you saw somebody in one of your virtual meetings with a really cool background. You thought to yourself, hey, man, I wish I could do that. Or, it maybe gets your mind flowing, different ideas about how to advertise yourself, right? And I think it's important to understand, to dovetail on some of what Rick was saying about how we got here. And of course, what I call the zombie apocalypse, COVID-19, is really the catalyst for it. And here's what I mean by that. Video conferencing itself has been around for decades. I've been selling video conferencing services for the last 20 years. Okay, and here's what I noticed. Maybe you've seen this before, the Rogers technology adoption curve, where you start with the innovators, the early adapters, you know, the sort of the bleeding edge leading up to general market acceptance. And it took us about 20 years to get to the point where we were at a couple of months ago, of a lot of some companies starting to come on and starting to adopt that technology. But there was a lot of reticence because there was a lot of, you know, how do we support people working from home? We don't want to take the chance or whatever. And then we found in 20 days, we took that curve from the very early adopters up to, if you're not using it, you're close to being what they call a laggard in that. So this has been a unprecedented advancement in the need for technology over a very, very short period of time. So it's no wonder that a lot of people are confused by it, that a lot of what you see is kind of rough and maybe not as polished as it could be. So I have a few questions for everybody, and just sort of think about this and mull it through, okay? If you were attending a business meeting, how would you dress? Why? Think about that for a minute. If you were hosting a meeting in your office, your old brick and mortar office, how would you want that to look? How would you want the conference room to look? How would you want your office to look? More importantly, why? If you're sending an important correspondence, whether it's email or snail mail or whatever, would you run it through a spell check? Would you make sure that the punctuation's right? Would you do that? Why? I think the answer to a lot of these are pretty self-evident, because you want to present your best. And I believe, and Rick has sort of drilled this into my head, that every time you are presenting or part of a meeting, you're selling yourself, you're selling your image, and you're selling whatever you represent, whether you're speaking or not, right? So what if during one of these meetings, every time that somebody looked in your direction, that glance would plant an image in their mind? What would the image be? And most importantly, what is preventing you from doing that? And I think I know what that is, and it's what I talk about all the time. People don't use technology because people don't know not just how to use it, but even where to go to figure out how to use it, or where to get support, or in many cases, like you'll probably discover today, that even existed. So we'll talk through that a little bit. And what we're going to do is we are going to knock down those barriers together. And it's going to, the stuff that I'm going to talk about is not, we're not talking about rocket science. We're talking about pretty simple, straight ahead stuff. Some maybe a little bit more advanced, but nothing I think that's overwhelming to you. If you can use a basic draw program or move shapes around in Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, you can use some of the stuff that we're going to talk about. So it really should not be an intimidating thing. So what we're going to cover very first is some very, very simple ways with what you have right now, how you can improve your video meeting, your appearance, and your presentation by doing nothing other than making just some minor changes to the technology that's sitting right in front of you. Okay. Then we're going to explore some free and inexpensive ways that you can kind of take it to the next level if you so desire. And then finally, I'm going to turn it over to our sage Rick, and he's going to talk, as he talked about earlier, to touch on some cameras and mics and lights and some other stuff that might be helpful. And of course, we'll do some Q&A, of course. So with that, let's just get underway. You guys have seen this before. We've all been in Zoom meetings, right? And so you're looking at this, and let me just ask you, what is wrong with this picture? And I know you're probably thinking one thing or another, or you're thinking I'm trying to get you to nitpick about that. And actually, what I more want to drive home is honestly, nothing's really wrong with it. I mean, you have a bunch of people there, they're happy, right? It looks like they're all enjoying being part of whatever that meeting is. My guess it's probably a family thing, but who knows? And that's kind of an important point. Who knows? Is it a family meeting? Is it a business meeting? And let's assume for the moment that it is a business-related meeting. Looking at all these folks, is this what you would want to present? Do you want to have a blurry picture? Do you want to have a busy background? A lot of us really haven't thought about that. So I put this out there so that we're sort of cognizant about the image that we're portraying in a video conference that a lot of times we're not really as sensitive to as maybe otherwise we should. So here's what I want to do. I'd like to work with Rick here, and we're gonna fix some stuff with him right now.
Just so you all know how thrilled I am with this, because this is not the image that I would like to portray, and we finally get to fix it. So you guys are doing a video thing here, and Rick looks like crap. Well, we're gonna fix that right now. But this is how I've looked for the last 3 months, not knowing I could, other than the lighting, not knowing I could do these things. So Brad's gonna walk me through it, and you're gonna watch the image improve.
So, okay, and thanks for that. So if you look at Rick's, and I don't want to spend too much time criticizing him, but it's okay. I mean, here we have him in the middle of our picture, and there's some busy stuff behind him, and the curtains are kind of glowing, right? And there's nothing really objectionable about that. But let's look at some minor differences to make. And number one, he's already actually done step one, which is we talk about the camera angle. Now, a lot of us are working off of our laptops, and the camera is part of that, right? And the angle of that camera is kind of fixed, and you wind up kind of looking down at it. Now, I'm not a photographer, but I did once stay at a Holiday Inn Express, and I can tell you that in my experience, one of the least flattering angles that you can take of yourself is a camera looking up at you. It tends to accentuate wrinkles on your face and things like that. So I would encourage you all to make sure that your camera is above eye level, at least slightly. And if your camera's on your laptop, maybe think about actually raising up the laptop, put it on some books or a board or something like that, or lowering your chair so that you do that. Because by moving your face back, you tighten up your face a little bit. You're not looking at those kinds of wrinkles. And so, Rick, you've already done a great job of that. So congratulations. The next thing that we want to look at is what we call the aspect ratio. Now, if some of you might be old enough to remember the old time TVs that were roughly the aspect ratio, in other words, how wide they are to how tall they are, what you're looking at with Rick is a 4:3 aspect ratio. HDTV is in what we call 16:9 aspect ratio, and you can see my picture is in a 16:9. And so, Rick, what I'm going to ask you to do is to just go ahead and change your aspect ratio from 4:3 to 16:9, and you're going to notice a couple of things. Go ahead.
What I want to do real quick, Brad, I would prefer everybody just paid attention. I'm screencasting this, so I'm going to give you a recording of this, but on the control panel is a button called settings. It looks like a gear. We click that, and then it brings up this cool preferences go-to webinar screen. Now, Brad had me do this yesterday, and I was like, are you kidding me? So on 3, I'll click the button, and it's going to go wider, but look at my skin, look at my shirt, and then look at how rich it becomes in the background just by changing it to widescreen 16:9. I'll click it on 3. 1, 2, 3.
So you can see it looks, I mean, it helps it looks a little bit clearer. I don't guarantee your camera will do the same thing, but you might also be reacting to, oh my gosh, it opens up, you see there's a hand sanitizer bottle over there and a bunch of stuff that maybe you don't want to include in your shot. But what moving it to a 16:9 ratio does is, I think it's somewhat subtle. Now you're getting ahead of me there, Rick.
Sorry.
Because he's playing with the zoom, and that's fine, because that's what we're going to talk about. I don't know if you know this, but in GoTo Meeting, if you go to the settings, you can actually zoom that camera in or out. Now, that feature is not available in Zoom, but if you go into GoToMeeting and zoom it in, and then you go into Zoom, it will actually maintain those settings.
Yeah.
So what Rick is going to do is he's going to play around with the Zoom a little bit to kind of cut out some of the stuff he doesn't want, keeping that aspect ratio. Yep. And guess what that also does? It zooms in on him a little bit more. We can see a little bit more, and we can start looking at the next stage of this, which is what I call image composition.
Hey, Brad, real quick. I already knew 137 was the best because I played with it. It's 135 or 137. Again, you guys are going to get a screencast of this. Some laptops don't have this feature, but it does have a lot of the other things we're going to show you. Some laptops do not have Zoom, but if it does, take advantage of it. So I'm now zoomed into 135. Brad, go ahead with the next thing.
Yeah. Okay. And I do want to reiterate that the Zoom that you're using right now is actually not your laptop Zoom, but in the software itself. So it should actually be available. So now, for the photographer friends, and with apologies because I'm sure you know more than I do, but one of the things I learned when I studied broadcasting in college was image composition. And we talk about image composition. If you were to divide your screen into thirds, like a tic-tac-toe, where those lines intersect, I always learned was sort of the PowerPoint. And so, Rick, would you do me a favor? If you would move so that the middle of your head is about 1/3 of the way, and ideally even a little bit below the middle line. It's very similar to mine. So what we've done is we've created a composition here where you still see Rick, but he looks a little bit more like a newscaster than he does just some guy talking to you on a screen. It also opens up the real estate on your screen in case you wanted to float a logo up there, or show your great Star Wars collection, or if your beautiful wife walks in and you want to show her off. So it gives you a lot of different options. And in my opinion, I think it makes your shot just a little bit more interesting and palatable to look at. So there you go with composition. And finally, the next step, and again, what Rick's going to show you is fancier lighting than what I've got. And my lighting, would you agree, looks reasonably well? I have a desk lamp and a floor lamp that are on me. So what I would strongly recommend is that what you do is go ahead and get some lights that you can light up your face with, preferably 2 of them. The first one is what we call a key light, which is the main light that's on your face, like this side here, okay?
Yeah.
And then a fill light, a secondary one that provides 3 dimensions. Go ahead, Rick.
What I want to make clear here is we have a couple photographers on here that are questioning things. One thing I can tell you, it looks a hell of a lot better than it did, and I'm just going to flip 2 switches here just to make a slight improvement. Now, I'm not going to keep standing up and readjusting the saturation on them, and we're going to go into these lights later. I'm just trying to show you where we were to where we are.
So, and that looks pretty good. And again, with apologies to the photographers on here, we could get wrapped around the axle pretty deep when we talk about lighting and all that.
One other thing, Brad, that I want to point out, and it also, this is without going too deep, I have a boom mic in front of me, and the camera sometimes starts to focus on that, and you can see the background changing. That's fine. I have it up a little higher than normal because we're recording.
Okay. So anyway, the point here is we haven't used anything that we don't already have.
Right.
Okay. This is just tinkering with your presentation a little bit to make it a little more professional. Think about how you're dressing. Think just if you're cognizant of what's in the background. You don't want your dog running around or your kids running around if you can avoid it. But certainly that I think that improves your overall kind of a thing. So ready to move on here? I'll go ahead and take my screen back if you'd like.
Yeah, one thing real quick. People are freaking out that your logo behind you is changing colors. We're going to get into all of that. They're like, how is Brad making? guys, that's why we're here, because
It's magic.
Brad's a wild man. So Brad's going to show us this. It's really what Brad's. Wait till you see. It's pretty cool stuff. So Brad, yes sir, take it back over, sir. You got it.
Okay. Did I take it?
You got it.
Okay, great. So moving along, those are the things that you can do right now. So let's talk a little bit about virtual backgrounds in Zoom, because that's the one that you're probably the most familiar with. And that's kind of how the whole thing began for me was okay, what do I do with this virtual background? You're probably familiar with this little menu here you see at the bottom left of your screen when you're in Zoom to join your audio or stop video. And you click the little button there, and this little menu pops up, and you see the choose virtual background. You choose that, and of course you get this menu, right? I'm sure we've all seen that. And just a couple of things I want to point out about that. One, if you look just below the right side of my handsome picture, it says choose virtual background. There's a little plus sign there, right? If you hit that little plus sign, you can actually select a video that could run behind you. Or if you choose the virtual background, you'll see any number of pictures that you've imported into that folder that it can look at. And you can see in this case, I selected my logo. Also, and this is a really, really important point, guys, because this is where I think a lot of people get into trouble. You see down at the bottom of that screen says, I have a green screen, and it's checked. There's a lot of people that they don't have green screens, but they're still running backgrounds, right? Do not do that. And there's a couple of reasons why you don't want to do that. Number one, you might not even be able to use it. I get the same error, and several of you that I've spoken with get this error. It says your computer doesn't meet the requirements. What's going on there is your video graphics card does not have whatever magic it needs to perform that, okay? But secondly, and I think even more importantly, I think it looks bad. And I'm sure you've seen that before. People it has what we call feathering, this sort of effect that's sort of blending into the background. It's difficult to use. And while it might be a fun toy, I don't recommend it professionally. I just don't think it looks polished enough. So I really strongly recommend, if you're going to put graphics behind you, that you get a green screen. And you don't have to spend a lot of money on a green screen. I have one behind me that I actually hung on a line right behind me, 16 feet by 9 feet, and I think I paid $35 for it.
Hey, Brad.
You can get them online, and I know that several people that I've talked to, you can see them. They have them. You put them right up behind you, and you're good to go. Okay.
Hey, Brad, real
yes,
quick.
sir.
Can you be for a couple of people? This is different. Everybody's on a different level. Just a real brief. A couple of people are asking, what's a green screen? So
thank you for asking that. So a green screen is exactly what sounds like it is. It is a green background. It can be, I've used a bed sheet. I actually have, it's a green cloth that hangs behind me. And the reason that we say a green screen is, if you remember back to the original Star Wars, most of those effects were actually done using a technology called chroma key, and they called it blue screening. And then they discovered everything was blue, and then they found out that green was more effective at it. And what it does is the software that's driving your video camera, you're essentially telling it, by using what we call chroma key, to ignore the color green. So it's important, if you're going to use a green screen, that you're not wearing a green shirt, because then you will be invisible. But really, that's all that it is. And if you go to Amazon and just type in green screen, you'll get 50,000 different results of different kinds of green screens that you can get. Hopefully that helps. Like I said, I went and you'll see, by the way, this little menu that popped up with my picture on it. Towards the bottom, a little bit towards the right, it says mirror my video, and right above it is a little square. If you click on that square, it will erase, it'll do away with your with the graphic, and you'll see the background behind you, and you can click on the color that you want to click on, and it will try to match that color. Okay, couple of tips with your green screen: make sure that it is lit consistently the same color. Because if you have one side that's a lot darker than the other, well, the computer, it'll see that as two different colors, and so part of it will be missing and part of it won't. It might take a little bit of playing around with, but it's not really a terribly difficult thing. If you look at my picture here, you can see that it looks fairly sharp. I don't have an overly expensive camera. That's just because I have a green screen behind me and decent lighting on me. So hopefully that helps. And besides, all the cool people use green screens. So now that you've solved that, and you can do it in Zoom, you go into a GoTo meeting with one of Rick's groups, and you can't make it work because there's no way to choose the green screen. What are you gonna do? And there's a lot of different video packages out there, gang. There's Microsoft Teams, and they have a thing in there where you can blur the background, and it looks pretty cool. And obviously GoTo Meeting, you can't. So you go, well, okay, so what do we do? How do we do that? Well, one way is to just not use a green screen and not use a background. Because there's no feature in there, you can use a thing called a virtual camera. Now, this is as technical as it's going to get when we talk about what a virtual camera is and how to use it, okay? What it is, essentially, it's a software-generated video source. I'll explain what that means. Don't worry. It's not as difficult as I'm going to make it sound. If you were to go back into Zoom and you say, you click the button there to choose your virtual background. You see right above it, it says select a camera, and it says HD Pro webcam C920, which I bought for $35. I could probably sell it for $1.2 million right now. And below it, it says OBS camera. That OBS camera is a virtual camera that I was able to create that the computer sees as a video source. And that's the key to being able to have complete control and do all the cool stuff. And we're gonna kind of get into that, okay? Why would you use it? Really simply, it allows you a virtual background in almost any video conference. Tons of design flexibility. Some of you have seen my Brady Bunch screen that I did and wondered, oh, how's he doing that? Or how am I making those graphics behind me fade into different colors? All that kind of stuff, right? And the way we use that is through a type of program that's known as OBS, which means, and there's not a test, don't worry, it's really not as difficult as it might sound, but just so you know what it is, the OBS, Open Broadcaster Software. And this is entirely Marcella's fault for getting me into needing to do this, but Open Broadcaster Software was originally created to help gamers be streamers. These are sites that allow gamers, people that actually sit and they play video games all day long and talk about them. And apparently that is a thing. It's not only a thing, it's a thing that people are making a lot of money doing, because people will go to places like Twitch or some others that they'll sit there and watch people play video games and talk about it and tip them, and all it's just crazy, okay? With the zombie apocalypse hitting, DJs are streaming as well, and they use this software to create their stream page, if you will, and broadcast it out. You don't need to know any of that. I just wanted you to have some kind of context about all this. This is the right one to use. We call it OBS Studio. There's a couple of different ones that I looked at. This one is the one that I use, and this is the one that creates a virtual camera. And I'm going to show you in a minute how we do that and how fun it can actually be. So all you do, you go to that link, download the program. It's free. Install it on your computer, open it up, and you'll immediately go, oh my goodness, what in the world am I looking at? But I promise you, it is super easy to use. One word of, just be aware of this, you do have to have the OBS software running in order to generate the virtual camera for you. And it's, like I said, it's not a big deal. So, okay, so let's take a minute and we'll play with it. I'm gonna go over to my OBS Studio software. So you should be seeing that right now. And this is the OBS Studio software, and I have it in what's called studio mode. You see two different screens, one that's got the Brady Bunch thing and the other that has my cool Q Census logo. I'm going to take it out of studio mode, and that's the way you'll see it to begin with. The reason I like to have it in studio mode is that the one on the right is actually what it's generating. The one on the left is if I wanted to select a different one and then fade right over into it, okay? So now let's just go through this step by step, okay? When you first load up your OBS studio, you see it says scenes and then sources, and don't worry about the audio mixer. You're not gonna need that. You're not gonna need to worry about the controls, about streaming and all that stuff. The only thing that you're gonna need to know is how to create a scene, and what you're looking at here in each of these are two different scenes, and then the sources within each of those scenes. So these are just all the things that we input into these things to make a scene. I hope that makes sense. And then finally, we go to tools, and down here it says virtual cam. You click on that, it will instantly start generating a virtual camera that you can then go into whichever video conferencing thing that you're in and generate it there. So let's have some fun. Let's generate a new scene, and I'll show you just how easy this is. So when we create a new scene, all we have to do is hit the little plus sign, and we'll pick a name for the scene. We'll call it fun scene. How's that? Okay. We say okay. And now you see everything went black there. Okay. That's because we don't have any sources in this scene. So then we can figure out, okay, well, what do we want to put in there? Well, let's put something in there, and you'll see there's a bunch of different stuff that comes up when we say plus, okay? Well, the first thing that we want to do is have our video camera, the actual video camera, so we can see our beautiful thing. And you need to play with it maybe a little bit, but this is called the video capture device. Now, you see when this comes up, I can either create a new one or I can add my existing one. I'm actually going to create a new one here because there's some stuff you're going to want to do if you have a green screen. So we will name it. We'll name it fun camera. How's that? Okay, and we'll say okay. And now this little list comes up and it says okay. And sometimes you got to play with these a little bit. Okay. Yep. That's the camera we're going to use. We want to make sure it's activated. I don't know why it's not coming up, but it's not. But sometimes you have to play with these controls a little bit.
Hey, Brad, I don't think you can bring it up when you're using it through the program.
That probably is the problem. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to show you. We're going to input the one that I actually had, the webcam, and it should come right up there. Okay, so you see it inserts me there. Now, with that, you see I can make it as big or as small as I want. If I hold down the Alt key, I can crop it however I want. Okay, we'll make it a little bit bigger. And if I didn't have the green screen on it, if I right click on that and I go to filters, I can add an effect, and here's the chroma key effect. And as I play with that, there's my green screen behind me. That's all that it is, guys. It's just a green cloth. Okay. And as I play with the similarity and all that, it becomes really easy to use. I say, okay, great. That's perfect. Love it. Love to be part of it. And then we've created that. But that's not very interesting, is it? So let's put let's put a scene behind me. Okay, that I happen to know is an image. So we'll go to an image and see I have a bunch that I've created here. We'll go to image 2. We'll put something new in, and then I can just browse for where I want it. And here's all these images that I've created. I've always wanted to be part of a beautiful family. So we'll make that be our background image, okay? So it creates this, and that's my background image. But wait, where did I go? Well, remember that in your sources, this is just like, think of it in layers. Whatever's on the top is going to be in front. So as you can see, it says image 2. We're going to delete the fun camera so we don't get confused. And so this image is actually over the top of the webcam. That's really easy to fix. You click on it, you drag it down there, and now here I am in front of the family. Okay, we want to add my logo to that, because of course you want to have your logo. So that happens to be another image that I have, and I just happen to have a number of them already on file here, but you could add another image in if you wanted to. Let's go the yellow on blue logo, because that's the brightest one. Oh, but wait, it's so darn big. What do? All we do, click on that, drag it down. Sometimes they're even a little bit bigger. Drag it down to the size we want there. And I go, okay, but see, I'm kind of too far in the middle of my screen. What am I going to do? I click on the webcam. I drag it over there. Maybe make it a little bit smaller. And then transition over. And there is my new scene, just as fast and easy as that. So, and that's really all there is to it. Now, you can get fancy with that if you want. I played around with it a little bit, and I had to create this thing. When I go to this one, it changes colors, and there's some tricks I used. I don't really advise getting into that unless you're really into the program. But if you just remember the scenes and the sources, and then your tools to turn on your virtual webcam, really, the world is your oyster. And I hope that's helpful. And then I go to this slide. But wait, I just went through all the stuff. You forgot everything I just said. Help. What do you do? Okay. And here's where the easiest part of it is. Don't panic. Okay. YouTube is your friend. I learned to do this from knowing nothing, didn't even know the technology existed, to becoming the level that I'm at, for whatever it's worth, in about, I don't know, a couple of weeks, just by searching videos on YouTube. And it's not always that easy, but honestly, if you go to YouTube and you just type in your question, you'll see 2,700 videos that in one way or another answer that question. And if that's a bit overwhelming, is to send me an email, because I make a promise to everybody that was thoughtful enough to get on this webinar today. I want to make it easy for you, and I'm not going to charge you a dime. But if you want to do this and you're getting wrapped around the axle, please send me an email or give me a call, and I will sit down with you. We can get on a Zoom meeting together. We can do whatever you'd want, because I just want to make sure that all the people that work with me and work with Rick can benefit from that as well, because I think it's really helpful. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn this back over to our resident sage, Rick Silva. He's going to talk a lot about some of the lighting and microphones and camera tips and stuff like that. So Rick, I'm going to go ahead and stop.
Also, there's besides YouTube being your friend, I want you to know that I'm screencast recording this, so I'll be able to get you a copy of everything that Brad did. Thank you, Brad. Everybody clap. Everybody's at home clapping. You just don't see it or hear it.
Right.
Okay, so I want to talk to you about a few things here. First off is the halo effect. So the easiest way to explain it is you're treated based on how you look, how you dress. So here's the way I explain it. I don't want an auto mechanic walking into my networking group wearing a three-piece suit. I don't want my financial planner walking in wearing shorts and a t-shirt. You want to look based on what profession you're in. It's something called the halo effect. So if I had a spiky hair, I'm gonna look at myself here real quick. So it's easier if I can see you, Brad. I can interact with somebody. But if Brad had 13 different color hair, you wouldn't hear a word he said. You'd be looking at him going, you'd be so distracted by how you look that they wouldn't hear a word you said. They wouldn't take you seriously. You want to have a nice appearance. So just dress based on how you want other people to perceive you as a business professional. That's number one. So what I want to show you here is a couple different setups that I have. Now this is in my dining room, and we're not showing anything that costs big money. At least I don't think it's all that expensive. I didn't buy really expensive stuff. So Brad, you see the ring light there?
I sure do.
So we got a little ring light, we got a little Blue Yeti microphone, and that's my laptop. So let me show you these products. I'm pretty sure there's a number of you on here like me. I see something cool, I just go on Amazon and I buy it, and I don't spend a million years researching it. maybe a little bit of time, but not a lot of time. So let me show you these products and what they are. That's a side view of the laptop, the microphone, and the ring light. That's a 10-inch ring light. So let's just show you the products. Now, before the apocalypse, COVID, I hate using that word. It's unfortunate what we're going through and it's changing people's lives. I'm trying to stay as positive as possible. But before all of this stuff started, you could go on and find, it wouldn't even tell you how many in stock. And you know how it gets lower and lower? It goes, there's 5 in stock, 4 in stock. You can't even get this microphone right now because there's 10 gazillion people working from home. But if you log in once in a while, you can find it. So this is the Blue Yeti microphone. You can find them, I promise. They might be sold out, but you can find them. Next piece, this is the actual ring light that you saw in my photo. It's called UBesize Selfie Halo Light. You can see it right here, UBESIZE Selfie Halo Light. One of the cool things, it's got 3 different shades. It's got white. It's got kind of the one in the middle kind of makes you turn a little bit grayish bluish, and one on the right gives you a little bit more enhancement of your skin tone. Brad and I, again, we're not professional photographers, but we did stay at a Holiday Inn, and I don't have my Screen Actors Guild card. I am not a photographer, but I know that these lights help. So as you can see, the top right-hand corner, 49 bucks. That's not bad. Let me show you the setup I'm at right now. Now we have a boom arm, we have a shock mount, and let me just show you everything. If you see the microphone hiding behind the filter there, this is the microphone I'm actually speaking to you right now. That's the actual boom. So the microphone, you're looking at anywhere from 120 to 240. Real quick, I don't have a screenshot of it, but Brad, you see all these colors here in the middle? Click on each one, because the red one might be 240 and the gray one might be 90. So when it comes to these microphones, don't worry about the color. No one's going to see it unless you want to spend 240 bucks when you could get it for 90. But I look at each color and you can get them a lot cheaper. So 37 bucks for the boom, and then here's the shock mount. And this was right there, 29 bucks. That ain't bad. You're not looking at that much money. 80 to 150 for the microphone, let's say. The boom 37, the light 40, and you got a pretty good setup and you got a shock mount there. So here's some other options. You get the Blue Yeti Nano. It's a fantastic mic. This is the example. Top right, burgundy is 149. Blue is 192. Look how much brown is for the same microphone. Oh, and wait, it's Amazon Prime. It's half the cost and it's Prime. So look at the colors. Look at the colors. Unless you want to spend $192 on a microphone.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is Amazon's version of it, and it's 125 bucks. Yeah, the way I look at it is start with a budget you can afford, and then as you make more money, put a little bit away to upgrade your technology, and then watch your income rise. As you sound better and look better, people are going to, back to the halo effect. It's how you look, it's how you present yourself. The more money you make, then you can invest a little bit more. Start with 20 bucks, then work your way up. This is only my second microphone, and I can't fathom changing, but it's critically important to have good sound and good video. All right, so now we're going to look at, I'm not going to go into great detail. Again, I'm not a professional videographer. We have them on here. We have professional photographers on here, but this is what I know. And Brad, I don't want to go too deep down aspect ratio and all that stuff, but I know it needs to have 3 things. It needs to have HD, 2 things, 1080p HD, and it needs to have a microphone. That can't be recommended enough. These are some really good ones. Now, Brad has the 920 that he probably could buy a Lamborghini if he sold. I have the 922X Pro. This one was around 130 or 140. You see there where it says options from 155. They're hard to find, guys. Webcams are hard to find. You're going to have to log in once in a while, look for them. I found some other options, but these good ones are, I mean, everybody's working from home. They're hard to get right now. This is a very, very, very good webcam. Anything by Logitech. Make sure it has a microphone and it's 1080p. Here's another one for you. 1080p and it has a microphone. 1080p and a microphone. That's the key. Also, one of the other biggies, if you look at right here where I'm circling my mouse, this is how it mounts to your monitor. When I first looked at these webcams, like, how do I get that on a monitor? It has a clip on it, and you can see it even better here. This gap between here and here, it actually sits on the back of your monitor, and this folds in and it holds it, and then you can tilt it. So it's really cool if your camera can tilt. Here's another one, 1080p with microphone. So the last one was, how much was this one? This was 30 bucks. This one's 155. This one's 80 bucks. I did my best to find different levels of microphones. Make sure it tilts, it mounts, it's 1080p. Guys, that's about it. That's about what we have for you. So real quick, before you leave, I want you to know I've been looking at the questions. I want to ask Brad these questions that you guys have been typing. My name is Rick Silva. You can email me anytime at rick@b2bgathering.com. This is not what we do for a living. Brad does technology. I teach networking and referral generation. But as of right now, we are earning our living online. So we had to put in a bit of time figuring this stuff out. We just wanted to pass it along. We answer what's a green screen. Can the green screen be light green, Brad?
So the answer to that's actually, it's a better question than you know. I'm looking off to I just got this green screen that you saw a minute ago for Father's Day. I had essentially a cyan colored screen that I used for quite a while. The closer you can get to that sort of bright forest green, the better. However, if you play with the settings, particularly in OBS Studio, in that filter thing that I was talking about, you can adjust that. So again, I encourage you to get as close to that green color that you see when you look up Amazon as you possibly can, but you can play with it. For that matter, you could probably get, if you go into OBS, and you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen again really fast. So if I were to go to the filters and go into my chroma key here, I can actually tell it that it's green, blue, magenta, or some custom color. So again, green's the easiest. If you can't get green, get as close as you can. Maybe play with some different colors. Just make sure you're not matching those colors with what you're wearing.
Brad, how do I capture a power? Brad, I don't want you to do a big long explanation on this. We'll be here all night. Just brief, and then Brad Warren can contact Brad Tucker. I'm going to ask it not quite the way it's typed. It says, how do I capture a PowerPoint slide and save it to my computer and then use it as a virtual background? Brad, can you create a PowerPoint slide and use it as a virtual background?
Very easily.
Okay.
Go to the PowerPoint slide. Go to the specific slide you want. Go to File, Save As, and save it as a JPEG.
Yep.
And it will ask you, do you want to save just the slide or do you want to save the whole deck? Tell it you want to save just the slide, and you now have a JPEG. Import your JPEG as the image, and you now have that as your background.
Yep, you're going to save the slide as a photo, Brad, on your desktop. And I bet if you are really nice, and since Brad already offered, Brad, you can ask Brad, and Brad will show Brad how to do it. All right.
It's Bradception. Okay.
Holy smokes. Brad, here's another question. Do I need a green screen to upload a picture to have as a background?
Well, again, I strongly recommend it. In Zoom, if you have the right video card, you can import that as your background, but the quality simply will not be as good as it otherwise might. If you're going to use a background, honestly, my opinion is you need to have a green screen.
Last one that I see, and I'll look and see if there are any others, Brad. Are there colors and patterns you should or should not wear besides avoiding wearing green if you're using a green screen?
You know, that's a better question than you know. And I learned years ago that if when you're on camera, you want to avoid patterns, especially small, like a small checkered, because they'll tend to swim around a little bit. So I would encourage you to wear more basic colors, more basic patterns. I wouldn't go much fancier than what you're wearing, Rick. Those stripes work perfectly fine, but if you got a tight checkered thing, it's going to have a really weird swimming effect, or at least it's prone to it.
I'm actually going to answer this one for Scott. Scott, are all mics USB compatible, or are there adapters? I'm not 100% sure what your question is asking. Are all mics USB compatible? You'll have to look at the description. I don't know of any that don't at this point have a USB connector on the back.
I have some information about that might be useful.
Okay, one last
thing.
You jump it, Brad.
Yeah.
Finish this one last thing.
Sure, go ahead.
Now I have the screen up, so the screencast software is picking it up. Scott, I'll be able to show this to you. There is a button you click on that selects microphone, because there are many people who use separate mic, separate camera. Some people speak into their camera, some don't. So my microphone is USB and my camera is USB. And there's a button that you can click to select, this is what the camera is going to do, this is what the microphone is going to do, and this is what the speakers are going to do. So as far as the compatibility, Brad, if you want to go deeper on that.
Absolutely, and it's not a big deal. What I'm using here, this is a broadcast quality microphone. It looks old-fashioned, but it's actually newer. It's a standard vocal microphone. The kind of cord that comes out of a standard performer's microphone is what we call an XLR, a 3-pin cord. What I have is I actually go into a mixing board, and then I have an adapter cord that goes from XLR or mic cord into USB, and it converts it. So there's almost, and I picked that up on Amazon for like $25 some months ago, and you can absolutely find those. You get one of those, and really you can it opens up a world of microphone possibilities for you.
Hey Scott, just get a USB mic. Okay. Hey Brad, here's another one for you, sir. For Brad, anything specific as far as challenges or anything else, install recommendation with OBS Studio?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's going to depend on if your computer, if you know, is it possible you run into configuration problems? Yeah. If you got an older computer, yeah, you might run into that. I'm not a computer tech, so I would defer to computer technicians for that. I can tell you that the computer that I'm working on is almost 10 years old, and I haven't had a problem in the world with the compatibility. I'm working off of Windows. I know you can also do it. There's a ton of people that do it on, if you've got a Macintosh, you can use it on that as well.
I think we're going to end it now, Brad. We did 1 hour and 2 minutes. I have it screencast recorded. I'll put it all together and I'll get it out there. And we want to thank you all for taking your time. We'll get you the recordings. And if you have any other questions, I showed my email address. I believe Brad did in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. It means the world that you were here. So hopefully it was helpful to you. Thanks a lot.
We'll see you guys later. Take care. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.